The thing with French seams is you are supposed to press the inside first, but with the construction of this flag, it's really hard to press the inside, so I'm trying to press the outside a little bit with my fingers to just kind of encourage it. If I had a tailor's ham specifically for this, I could press it on the tailor's ham, but I don't have one of those. Now, if you have the right materials, if you have some fiber fill, you can actually make a tailor's ham with this sewing machine, which I think is really, I love how blacksmiths can make files in their forge, can make hammers in their forge, and tailors can make tailor's hams with their sewing machine. The idea of using one tool to make all your other tools is really fascinating to me. In the case of this thing, if I really want it to get a good, nice tight seam, I have to make sure it's very flat. So the thing is, there is an interlayer of fabric. It's not just two pieces sewn together. There's a third piece in the middle, and it's wanting to sort of bow out the other two layers. But I think it's going to be very lovely when it's done if I'm just ever so careful with it. Because I did the first one, and it's not the most straightest seams ever. But it has a good look to it. It has a little pilling, but I think the pilling kind of is good in this case. Usually, if I was making like an article of clothing, I would hate that. I would just take it apart and do it over again. But in this case, I think the pilling makes it look more like an actual nautical maritime flag. Come on, buddy. There we go. This one, I'm trying to get the seams a little closer to the edge to make it look more like it's gold piping. Because I had jade colored thread on this one. I've got yellow thread on this one. And I'm sure you can't tell because the light of the sewing machine is washing out this one that I'm finishing right now. But the color green is much darker on this other one because this was aged in a bathtub full of black tea for about 5 hours to give it a subtle brown wash effect and make it look like something that's come out of the sand locker of a ship during, I guess, the period that this series takes place in, or a period roughly analogous to that which this series takes place in. This series takes place in something that is the technological equivalent of, I would say, the 19 teens, early 19 teens. The bleeding edge of technology will be the 1920s. When I look at, when I do research on technologies, if I want to incorporate something in it, 1920 is the year that I say, if it hasn't been invented by 1920, it has to be really important to the plot for me to have something that uses that technology. But luckily, I live near an old shipyard, and I know a little bit about ships from this time period already. And I have a nautical museum within walking distance of my house. So if I want to know anything about ships, especially, which are, a key component of this, it's a nautical fantasy. I can always walk down and pick the ear of experts. But I have become something of a minor expert myself, I'm happy to say, because I've always liked ships in the water, and I grew up reading the Aubrey Maturin series by Patrick O'Brian, a man who loved writing so much that he died at his typewriter. And you do pick up a little bit of naval intelligence, to use a pun there, while you're reading these books. And also, both of my parents were in the United States Navy. I was raised by sailors, foul-mouthed sailors. My mother was a chief, which is to say she was a non-commissioned officer. She was a senior non-commissioned officer, and that comes with a lot of this sort of salty blue-collar, I just don't know how else to capture it if you don't know what it is. It's like that judge in that case about pornography said, it's like, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. I guess when you grow up with things, you don't need words for them because you just get used to them. You try to learn all the words you can, but etymologically, a chief is one of those self-referential things when you live in the same house as it your entire life. Really trapped myself in a corner here with this one. Yeah, if I had that tailor's ham, see, I could have pressed this out. If I'm making an article of clothing, for instance, I'll press out the seams, and then when I fold it over like this, I'll get a much flatter exterior edge that looks much nicer and more crisp. But also, usually when I'm making clothes, it's like you can have them open and you can just sew the seams up you can just press the seams up while the article of clothing is open. It's not the end of the world, though. I think it'll still look nice when it's done. I just don't think it's going to look quite as nice as this one that I'm going to send to my very first founder tier subscriber. It's such a nice, clean, crisp look to it. I think these flags are a really marvelous idea as a subscriber reward. I would like to make, I have another design actually, and I don't know what book this would go with, but this is the flag of the antagonist one, and I've tried to make this one look a little battle damaged. I think I'm going to take it to a shooting range and also put some holes in it. This is a poly duck, so you can't actually burn it and char the edges like I want to. I'm probably going to need to use some like rust sealant paint to make it look like it's been charred a little bit. I have the thread is like coming undone here. I have some like sections where I've hidden where the thread is so it can still be strong and held together and look damaged like this. And I'm not sure what to do with this one. I'm thinking of using it as a, like if I get enough fans where I could do an art contest, I might use that for something, use it as a prize. Obviously, with the signed copy of the book. Like, signed copy of the book is like, I can buy 1 million books. It just feels, it's really hard to struggle with feeling, your whole life you're told to be humble, and you have to be a little bit arrogant to make something like this and give it to people, to sell it to people. You have to think that your ideas are at least a little good, right? But if you can get past the game of playing with, low self-esteem or an attempt to capture the Protestant humility that we're all told to have, it's actually really fun to design these products. I really love coming up with them. I've been in talks with someone else about making miniatures of the different ships that can be 3D printed and then painted. And I would really love to do something like that. I would love to 3D print miniatures of the ships. The saber that the main character has is, I've done a lot of detailed renderings of it in sketches, fully colored sketches. And this is another one of those things where it's like, if you can make a 3D model of it, that would be a really cool keychain and be a great novelty or a miniature for a shelf, which leads you into the next thing, which is like the characters themselves. You know, they wear interesting outfits. They have a lot of props. It would be a lot of fun to have miniatures of them. You know, I know that it's hard to imagine a little indie book being on the same tier as all of the shelf fodder that people get when they like Star Trek and they like Firefly and stuff like that. And I love those things too. So it's like, I don't think everyone would just get all of the stuff, but it's just having the more neat stuff you have when it's so fun to create the neat stuff, when it's so fun to design the neat stuff. The more neat stuff you have, the more interactive in a way it can be. You can have some people who are like, oh, I'm just here for the miniatures. I just want the little miniature. I just want the little ships, the little swords, etc. And then you can have other people that are like, oh, I don't really care about that stuff. I just want the books, or I just want the audiobook. Maybe it's one of these things where you eventually have something for everybody. That's my neighbor's truck. I don't know how well that's coming in on the microphone, but he has a really cool truck. It's very large, which, you know, is, I just imagine what a tremendous masculine guy he must be with his enormous truck. But, you know, what if it's also a lady? What if she has to haul stuff? Who knows? But I don't know that neighbor. I don't have a problem with them. I just hear their truck a lot when I'm recording the audiobook. I have to pause for a minute and go, oh, we'll wait for them to go by. I've never seen them outside of their house. I've only seen their truck. Now, I do have like a little bit of a relationship with the neighbors over here on the other side. But their cars are very small, so I can never go, oh, that's my neighbor's car. Oh, that's, and then say his name. Oh, that's his car. And feel a bit of warmth or whatever, as much as I'd like to. All right. Oops. I made a horrible mistake. I should have this machine taken away from me. Oh, what a bad mistake. What a silly, silly boy move. Oh, no. Whoops. Yeah. I forgot to switch which direction I was going because I was busy talking about my neighbor's truck. I presume you're supposed to just talk the whole time anytime you do a stream. Just be a huge chatterbox who just never shuts up. I can't imagine someone wanting to tune in and watch a person quietly sewing together a flag. All right. Fabric is very forgiving. You can always take it apart and do it over again. It is extremely upsetting, but it is something you can always do. To rethread the whole machine now. That's okay. A lot of people get frustrated when you have a hobby or a craft that has a lot of easy ways to suddenly create make work for yourself. But I like to think of it like as long as there's something to do, every mistake has a way to make it okay. Has an immediate recovery. I think that's very nice. There we go. Very nice. I still have to make the spine for this thing. I have a spine that has like a weird seam in the middle of it, and I don't know if I want to use that for something I'm going to give away. But if I ended up using this as a display flag, I wouldn't mind it. And I do think I want to have more of these for the sake of display as things continue. There we go. That's going to be nice. Okay. I think if I do other streams like this, I might do one where I address the camera and I have these flags hanging up behind me. Depending on how many flags I actually end up with. I have a total of 4 right now, 2 of these green ones and 2 of the red ones I showed earlier. And I think that I'm going to end up keeping one of the red ones because it's just not part of the subscriber rewards package. And, you know, I don't know if I'd say if I'm lucky, if I'm unlucky, I don't expect to sell another one. I've sold the one and I don't expect to sell the other one because a book and a flag and a nice little decorative bag with embroidery on it is nice and all. But I don't see it being worth $150 to somebody unless they just really, really love the series or really, really love the book. And I'm going to look at the different tiers and see if I can maybe do it for $99 instead. After I finish putting this flag together, when I go and actually sit down and activate the tiers. I'll see what I'm looking at because I tried to make a tier that was just a ebook last year when it first came out, and I was extremely disappointed because the cheapest possible tier was like the same amount they'd have to pay if they bought the ebook on Barnes and Noble or Amazon or wherever they wanted to get it. And it was just like, why would they subscribe? I was thinking $3.99 for the ebook, which is normally $5. Like at least they'd get $1 off the ebook. And another thing is it's hard to parse the motivation of the subscriber because it has to necessarily be something that you want to do to support the guy. Me being the guy in this case, but I'm trying to, whenever I conceive of it, whenever I'm trying to market it in my head, I'm trying to separate myself and think more clinically, like it's not me who's selling the thing. Imagine it's for anybody. Imagine if I was offered this for something I love, and it may simply be a matter of I am impoverished. I've been out of work since July of last year, which enables me to do all of this cool stuff. And I'm really excited that I was able to put out that serialized audiobook podcast, having all of the voices, the sound effects, the music. It really brought the book to life in a way that I would not have been able to do while working a full-time job. But it also means I don't have the money to afford it. If I were to find it in a way that someone else did it and I liked theirs, I would not be able to afford, to spend $150 for like a collector's box set type thing. And I don't think I would pay for the $4.99 thing either. It's just like, I just think I would just consume the cereal and be happy with it. And that's, I honestly, that's fine for me. I would love more readers. I would like people just leaving comments saying that they enjoyed the series, the story is great, they love the characters, etc. Because I think that if enough people like it, that the kind of person who does buy a box set will buy a box set. I just don't know how to get in their head and figure out what kind of stuff they want in the box set. Do they think that a flag that was sewn together by the author is a really cool piece of merch? Oh, I screwed up the backstage. Oh, wow. Oh, I must have ran out of, yeah. Oh, see, I got to do a whole section of this over again. Whoops. Goofed and silly pilled. All right. I'm going to go until at least 3, I'm telling myself. Where are my little tiny scissors? Big man, little scissors. Isn't that funny? Yeah, so I have to redo this whole last section because I ran out of the thread in this little underside bobbin. It's the way the sewing machine works is this needle on the top brings some thread down and pulls it around in a big circle. There's a little circle under here called a shuttle hook that grabs this thread from your top needle and drags it around in a circle from the thread that's on this bobbin that I'm about to load onto this bobbin because I'm out of it. And every time it wraps a circle, it pulls that circle through and then goes back down again. It's it's not how you would think, because when you sew by hand, you just go back and forth, back and forth. This idea of like go down, wrap around, and then just pull back up again. But that's how, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it with a machine. I love machines. Oh, my pins are falling out. Oh my goodness. I'm making a terrible mess. I was sticking my pins in this bobbin while I was finishing the last 3 flags. Oh, there's pins all over the floor. This is bad for feet. Well, I am sure I will find whatever one is missing with my foot next time I come in here without shoes on. Which, who knows when that will be? Maybe tonight? Maybe one clean up after this stream ends in about 20 minutes. Let's see. So now I gotta wind this all the way back up. Because it can't go all the way through the sewing machine. When you're loading the bobbin with it, you have to only have just enough to go up to the bobbin, otherwise it will get tangled up. Something awful. Here we go. Yeah, I wanted to come back and do another stream because in the first stream, I just was stumbling over everything I was saying. I had to get those announcements out of the way, but it was such a train wreck. I just had to turn it off and start over again with it. Now you loosen this nut on the side of the machine so that it engages the bobbin winder. Yeah, there we go. Nope. Oops, I messed it up again. All right, there we go. Why does it keep coming out of this little wheel? It's incredibly frustrating. love doing this. There's just something really satisfying about watching the thread go back and forth, filling up. There, that's enough for now. I say that's enough for now, but actually it's like completely full and almost overflowing. So now we can refill this. Oh, of course I can't do it correct either. There we go. I've even taken these little bobbins and put them into the top thread. They like to wiggle a lot if you get fast, but if you're going slow, the machine doesn't mind. I go slow a lot when I'm sewing because I'm really bad at it. I mean, I've had this sewing machine for about 3 years now, I guess. I got it, some guy got it from a dead lady's storage unit, which I'll tell you something, if you want nice stuff, dead ladies who have storage units have the best stuff. I've gotten so many wonderful things. Fabric, silk fabric, beautiful silk fabric. This wonderful printed silk is amazing. There's an embroidered silk right here. Came from a dead lady's storage unit. There's all of the ladies who had the best stuff put it in storage units and then die. It's tragic that they die unless they want to, I guess. If they're like 96 years old begging for death every day, then, you know, I'm glad that they found mercy. Whichever it is, I'm happy to buy their very nice stuff. Wooden stuff. They had a lot of great wooden stuff too. A lot of them were still alive back when everything was made out of wood and made to a really high level of craftsmanship. And they just think of this as like, old stuff from when I was a kid or back when I first got married. Can't throw it away. But for me, it's like a little treasure because it's just no way to, no one's making this new. I've heard that the Amish do it, but every time I go to a furniture store to buy stuff that's made by Amish people, aside from the fact that I cannot afford the things they make, I also find that it doesn't look the same. We don't use the same styles anymore. We don't use the same joinery anymore when we're making furniture. We found more efficient joinery that looks pretty good, but just doesn't look the same. So if you really want that charm, you have to get something that's old. Oh, now I have to re-engage this. Perfect. Cardinal sin, moving the fabric after you've started sewing. Well, even though I've had this for 3 years, there are people who have had theirs for a much shorter time that do a much better job than I do. But I also haven't been nonstop using it with all my free time for the last 3 years. Up until last July, I was working in production baking, and it was a busy enough job that I would be pretty tired when I got home and not want to do stuff. Also, it works at night, so it's you. There we go. Very nice. Working at night, you get home, you kind of, if you don't go to bed in the morning, you're not going to go to bed. You're just going to stay up all day. And then when night gets there, like your circadian rhythm is just set up in such a way. I was a long haul trucker. I drove at night then too. I've been working at night pretty much my whole life. It's only recently that I started being up during the day, and it is still, even now, almost a year later, it's still a huge adjustment period for me. That's not so bad. It's not quite what I, was hoping for it. The seams got out a little bit more than I wanted them to. I wanted them to be closer to the edge, but it's still, hey, looks like a flag. I think I'm going to send this other one to the subscriber, the guinea pig subscriber who paid so much and wanted a nice gift bag, or I don't know if he wanted a nice gift bag, but if he didn't want something nice for his money, then how dare he be such a generous person? He's going to get something nice. I can't not give somebody something nice. I can't just take their money. Right, so here's the spine I have for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of this extra fabric in the middle. Now that I know this one looks rougher than the last one, I'm going to just go ahead and be satisfied to give him the last one that looks really nice and keep this rough one as a display piece that I'll use in future streams. I'll have it facing the camera. While I address the camera, I'll have it behind me like it's a banner. Yes, I am coming to you from the official headquarters of the Stone Unfurled. And today we'll be talking, I don't know, I'm thinking for the next audiobook, I'm going to try to do like a dev diary sort of thing almost. I don't know, I feel like the first one I made in secret and I didn't announce it to anybody. I didn't do any sort of product launch stuff because nobody knew who I was, right? I'm a secret guy. Who cares that nobody is making nothing? But now that it's out and I've proved I can make one of these things, I can actually do this stuff. I'm not just talking out of my ass. It feels like, if I disappear for 6 months to produce this audiobook, which is what I did before. I released it in October after spending all summer working on it. If I'm going to be that guy, then I need to keep people updated. I need to make regular notes on Substack or whatever where I talk about what I've done. Well, this week I recorded chapter 13 and it's going to have a lot of Foley because it goes to a different place. Or this week I recorded chapter 12, or maybe I should share some of the illustrations that I've been using as thumbnails, or maybe some of the voice samples for the characters. I've already been doing sort of pre-production work on I'm making voice tests and I'm making AI models of voices so that I can not use 11 Labs, but try to do something remote on my computer. Not remote, I'm sorry, unremote, local, something local on my computer, because I can't afford to pay voice actors. Though with that said, I have been in talks with some voice actors who will work cheap or for free, and are interested in potentially going on with this project. The location of this book is going to be inspired by sort of trade hubs of the age of sail. So think of Hong Kong, Macau, Kanagawa in Japan, Singapore in general, or even like the Mediterranean, like Venice, Vienna, Barcelona, like these sort of very economical areas. Trade, yeah, lots of trade. And my thought is, so I'm going to model each one of these cities after these different trade hubs, and this one is more like Singapore. So the person I've been talking to about it is from Singapore, and she wants to do the voice of one of the characters. She's also been coaching me on how to get an appropriate Singaporean accent. And we've been talking a lot about how to lean into certain aspects, because In Singapore, you have a lot of influences. You have Malaysian influences and English colonial influences and Chinese influences. I mean, there's also people from India. It's a huge melting pot of a country. But in terms of culture and governance, the big three are Malay, Chinese, and British. So I've been sending her voice tests of the character that I think of as being sort of the governor or mayor of this city, of this trade hub. And I've been trying out different accents, and we're trying to like get the closest thing we can to an authentic sounding Singapore English accent. And I've tried going a few different ways with it. I've tried doing a bit of English accent, and then tried going more Malay. The most recent samples I built out, I think we've decided we're going to lean more Malay. But it's just, this is one of those things where it's like I'm in pre-production doing stuff like this so that when I actually am in production, I can just go straight through it. I want to blast through production of this. Just like I did the last one, I sat down, I recorded, and then I went into editing nightmare hell pit and just sat at my computer and edited audio nonstop. I would record a chapter or two on Monday and then spend the whole rest of the week just editing and putting in Foley for it. Foley and music. The music I'm also already working on. Some of it is playing right now, actually. You're hearing it over my digital audio cable. If you're not hearing it over my digital audio cable, then I failed in configuring it somehow. But the music that should be playing, if everything's working right, is actually preliminary attempts to create some of the background music for what will be. Oh, hi, David. Welcome aboard. David is the subscriber who bought the premium package before there was a premium package. So the music that's playing right now is preliminary music that I'm working on. You know, if it sounds good, I will probably keep it, but also sounds good as music is not quite the same as sounds good as background music for an audiobook, because you need something to have an even dynamic. It can't get too excited or too loud. And some of this you can achieve with software. I can put it through a compressor that brings the highs down and the lows up. And you'll hear that if you listen to First Last Chance and some of the more active chapters. Whenever there's combat, we have really intense music that plays, but it's never extremely, it's never extremely loud. It should never be so loud that you can't tell what's going on. Now, David, since you're here, I did an announcement earlier where I showed off the flag and the book. You should see it because it's actually going to go in a box tomorrow and travel to, I hope you will supply an address to me, because otherwise I'll have to just hire a private eye with your money to find you. But the $150 or maybe more, maybe less, I have to look at the actual numbers. The highest tier subscriber package will have one of these beautiful maritime signal flags. Bookmark. That's nice. We have the tassel made from lobster rope and a signed print hardback of the book. I'm not sure if the stream is sending it out reversed because it's mirrored on my end, but I want to put an epigraph in the book and also give a handwritten thank you message. Oh, and all of it comes in presentation bag with this horribly hand embroidered golden moon on it. Fantastic value for the money, I know, darling. But I think that this is like a very nice package. It's very varied, but I'm really looking forward to maybe getting access to some other stuff because I want to make miniatures of the ships. I want to maybe make a keychain that looks like Arlo's saber. And oh, I was working on one of these things, gosh darn it. And I just think I have some exciting ideas for potential products that can be made that either be sold as merch or be part of subscriber rewards. I think that you can really get carried away making some of this stuff, but the more of it I can make, the more, I don't know, it just makes the world more real to me. I have a friend, the woman who provided the recordings and the weights for the vocal model of the character Irina Rathbone. She wants to make a deck of cards. She wants to cosplay as the character at Dragon Con and make a deck of cards mimicking the deck of cards from the actual book, which in the book, this woman has a very bawdy, sort of rude deck of cards that I'm going to think of as sea cards. They're common amongst sailors and the working class. And there's pictures of women in various semi-erotic predicaments. It's meant to be more humorous than it is lewd, but it's part of this character being a very bawdy and lower class person. Proudly working class. Thank you, David. I look forward to receiving it. I look forward to shipping this because it has been a weight upon my shoulders for some time. Okay, and so my friend, she is a lifelong close friend of mine. We've known each other since we were very young. She wishes to print out these cards and make them, and I have to do illustrations for them if I want that to happen. We all have to collaborate on them if I want that to happen. And it's a lot of work, but I got carried away. I just already designed the deck and some of the games that you can play with these cards. I designed products in my sleep. And so getting to do subscriber rewards like this is really exciting for me. I can't wait to see if I can just get a few more things like this together as the book series goes on. That's good. Yes, her voice. David asks, was she the one whose voice was the model for the character? Yes. She sent me recordings of herself. She's an English major, so she loves poetry and literature. She sent me recordings of herself reading the Ballad of Alfred J. Prufrock, some of her favorite passages from Nabokov, not Lolita specifically, but though the prose in Lolita is fantastic. But she likes this one piece that Nabokov wrote about a woman who is playing piano by the window while it is raining. And he uses such superb words to describe it. And she just fell in love with that passage. And so she sent me recordings of herself reading it. And I used those recordings as weight to build an AI model for Irina Rathbone. I deliver all the lines. So when you hear Irina go, it's actually not just intended to be a trilogy. It's intended to be a very long series. My plan is to follow this character's life from like youth until he is a family man in his like late 40s. And not just for this character, but also to look at the way this world is growing as it runs into industrial technology and changes, and answer some questions, I guess, that we have about our own world in a way. I don't really want to answer them, I guess. I just think that it's something it's more comfortable to explore in fiction than it is in reality. The Korovokian Empire is, to me, on the other end of a culture war. They've finished their culture war. We've really still in the middle of ours. And they are learning to get along with each other again after being divided and frictious for a long time. And I want to explore how a society gets like this. I don't intend to leave anybody hanging. I have no idea why. I know why Robert Jordan left people hanging. It was just like, oh, why end the series? I want to stay aboard the more money train. I don't know what George R.R. Martin's motivations are. My motivations are, simply put, I want to end the series, or at least end the focus on this character. If I do more, I want it to be around other characters. I think there's a lot of meat on the bone in this world. And while I like Arlo as a sort of stranger in a strange land, as a beautiful idiot, as my wife calls him, who can experience the world, and we can use it to teach people about the world and do world building without having to do those giant 9-paragraph expounding sequences. I think that there's a lot more interest. You can make more interesting stories focusing on other parts of the setting. I have plans to do, based on some of the feedback of my beta readers, I want to do a Irina Rathbone side story. A lot of people really like her as a character, and her job as a Tribune takes her around the setting and has her traveling and interacting with a lot of different stuff in the world. So I want to, if I can work up a side series for her that has like less complicated themes and is a little bit more tropey and schlocky and kind of like action, almost pulps in a way, I will do that. It's just last year I tried to start doing that after I finished First Last Chance. And even though I'm unemployed, I often find myself with so much to do, and I end up being very busy despite being unemployed. You'd think that a lazy man-child such as myself would have all the time in the world to do stuff. But I end up picking up sticks for $50 here and there, going out to HEMA clubs, and it's like every day I find myself with a huge list of stuff to do and have no idea how someone with a job can have a full life. Which I know that makes me sound like one of those Reddit anti-work socialists, but maybe maybe they have a little point somewhere. I think everyone's right about something. Anyway, to reiterate the announcements that I made at the top, I've really enjoyed putting out this series. I'm glad that I have some reception. People seem, the most important thing to me is that people seem to see in it what I am trying to say with it. And that makes me feel like it's real. Like I'm not just, it really dispels the imposter syndrome. Not much in common with it. You are literally multitasking right now, sewing and doing a podcast at the same time. Not much in common with a lazy man-child. This is the handsome voice I'm giving, David. This is what happens when you give me money. I represent you with a handsome and masculine voice. Yeah, well, I also play video games sometimes. I don't think I'm actually a lazy man child. It's just something I say to dispel my feelings of insecurity about not having a job when for many years I worked really hard and I worked a lot. And now I've been supported by my wife, my beautiful wife, for a long time. And I love her to death, but I really wish that I could give her something back other than the silly fantasy series. I will say she does seem to like it an awful lot. She told me that when chapter 20 came out, she posted on Archive of Our Own an erotic homosexual fan fiction in which one of the villain most egregiously uses the main character in an awful way that women, I'm told, all over would find very, very interesting. I'm happy for her. I'm glad she likes it. I just didn't expect that from it. But hey, if you're that kind of person who likes that stuff, it's out there, I guess. She has told me she enjoys it a lot. We stay up at night sometimes just going back and forth in the voices of the characters when I'm trying to work out dialogue sometimes. And I think she finds it quite interesting. Yes, okay, I think this one's going to be done very soon. Let's just go fast, even though that's when you make mistakes. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay. Got to do a backstitch. If you don't do a backstitch, it'll fall apart later on. So I don't currently have another brass hook like I do for the first flag. So I'm going to have to find some other means of winding through the spine. What I'm using is this beautiful 3/16 cotton sash cable. This is not period correct to the story. Like a real maritime vessel in this time period at this tech level would be using a waxed cotton cable. Luckily, I don't think anyone is going to be hanging these up on their actual ship. And if they do, the Coast Guard is not going to recognize that you're signaling you're a vessel of the Korvokian Empire. And even if they did, they'd think you were a lunatic. However, this does come pretty darned close to the waxed cotton cable that they would use at this tech level in maritime affairs. I need this thing. This is the thing that sailors wish they had back in the day. This little purple thing, darling. It makes this easy. We just gotta weave through. See, now you can just string. Yeah, this is sort of a dream job for me. Showing people how to make maritime signal flags on camera. Yep, and now I can just grab the other end of it and it just, like magic, pulls it through. Isn't that great? That's so cool. Anyway, so that's a flag done. That is what goes into these things. It's not a small amount of work. Let's see, what time is it? It's about 3:15 almost. I think I spent about 20 minutes sewing it together after I turned on the camera, and I think I spent a lot more time than that pinning it and cutting it. I still need some industrial processes to make these a full batch. It's awesome that you have an actual pocket watch. This is not an actual pocket watch. This is a smartwatch on a pocket watch fob. But I do have a collection of really cheap, crappy pocket watches because the main character's watch, Arlo has a pin set pocket watch, which is a very cheap pocket watch. And I had to find one to record it for the sake of getting the sound design right on the book, because it's a key element of the narrative. Anyway, so I would say this is about putting one of these flags together is about 45 minutes total worth of work, and I have to also pay somebody to print these individual pieces of fabric that I then sew together for me. This is done through a process called acid dye sublimation. It's a little expensive, but I think it makes a really nice product. This first batch, a personal friend of mine did for me for free. And, well, we're saying for free, but I think I have to send him a copy of the book too, in case I ever get famous. And I have to sign it, of course. So if I get a bunch of orders for these things, once I turn on the subscriber tier rewards in a little bit, I will pay for them and I will buy them. But I think that having something that the author really put together just like this and worked on, I spent a very long time making this design too, as simple as it appears to be. It's really hard to get my sketches down into clean lines like this, and then from there onto an SVG file. So it's a vector, which means it's scalable. I think that having an author put that level of work into the subscriber rewards makes them seem really premium. I'm hoping that when I get this battle-damaged Caldonite flag done, I can offer it as a prize in some kind of competition. I think it looks really cool, but it's still like you could. Right now, it doesn't look battle-damaged yet. It looks like it looks a little. It just looks like it's poorly sewn together, which it is, but that's not what we're trying to convey with it. Let's see. Simple is actually critical for naval signal flags. The image doesn't resolve at distance. Yes, it's true. And also for gonfalons and battlefield flags. And also, to me, it's important that this design is one that is represented in the world and talked about. Characters would recognize it even if it wasn't on a flag. We have Irina has a tattoo of a green crescent moon on her left cheek. This is like the equivalent of a girl with an American flag tattooed on her cheek, basically. This is like a very patriotic thing for her to do. I like having these common design elements for the factions. The Caldonite flag that I keep bringing over here and then taking away again. This 7-pointed star is their symbol, and having these rays come out from it that is to represent that the Church of Caldon has 7 Crusader chapters, and this is the path of each Crusader chapter represented on this flag, and that the Church as a unifying force has this whole thing. I like these designs. Even with this design of the Imperial flag mounted on a halyard, when the wind catches it, it would flow like this. Having the moon behind you is a way of saying Corvus is behind us, the Jade Queen is behind us, she watches, etc. And I think I love designing things like that. You know what I want for the next tier reward? You need to have Arlo's sword forged by a Rin Fair-smith. Actually, I have talked to a couple of people. It would cost like $1,500, but it is possible. That is designed based on a Polish saber. And there are a lot of people who are making Polish sabers out there that are very good at it already. Just cleaning up a little bit down here with my foot. The old sweep it with your feet. Anyway, oh, by the way, I have a face too. I'm real. To round out everything, I just wanted to say, I've been working hard on the subscriber gifts, and I want this to feel like a premium package, but people can always buy hard copies of the book. These are beautiful books. I think they look great. The cover's really cool. The grit part is the fun part. Wolf, dog, hen. Yeah, it's supposed to be a wolfhound. My idea for the Imperial Wolfhound is that it's like a borzoi, but it's prick-eared. And that is the symbol of House Harridan. And I want to, well, it's on this little badge too. I made a version of Arlo's badge to wear on the stream. Just a silly little prop. These books are, I think they're really nice. The next book, I'm going to have it put together the same way. I'm going to have hardbacks again. The next book is pretty much done. As you can see, these beta reader copies are fully annotated, but they're not deeply annotated. And this, what I am calling my first draft, this beta reader copy it's in prose format. I have the symbol. If you've looked at the first last chance copies, I use this little moon symbol at the beginning of each chapter. I have the same symbol. I've already designed all of the art for it. I've already done the cover for it. All I need to do is finish the final rewrites, which once I get back all 4 of the beta reader copies, that will be all I have to do. And from there, I can just, release it. I have to get the copyright and everything. The legal stuff took a long time last time, but I can get that stuff while I'm doing the audiobook this time, which I couldn't do that last time. So I'm aiming for another October 31st release. And I think it'll sound great. Because I've really learned the workflow. I have this very expensive looking microphone, and I'm going to probably get another microphone because I don't like everything about this very expensive looking microphone. But I'm getting a lot more equipment, and I've got more time, and I'm going to have a workflow. So I'm really excited for the next book, and I think it will sound fantastic. I'm out of stuff to sew, and I'm out of stuff to sell. So for now, I guess I'll repack David's package for him. I won't ruin the surprise of what the handwritten message says, so that he'll still have a reason to open the book. Let's see. Flag. It must be presented. There, look at that. Nice. So the moon is facing up. This song actually that's playing right now is not one that I had intended for the book. This is something that I put together a while ago. When I first envisioned this setting, I was thinking of it as being a sort of turn-based battler RPG where you would have miniature ships that you would print out and they would fight each other. but I decided I can't actually 3D model. I'd really love to get some ships from the setting printed up and turned into miniatures that I could give away as rewards. But if I could 3D model, I would have definitely made this like a Warhammer style miniatures game. And who knows, maybe the future still holds that for me. If I could just really just get this darned thing in here. I just want it to really slide out and just show him the moon. Just want that beautiful presentation. All right. There we go. So all of the music that's playing right now is, these are Suno covers. In some cases, they're not covers, they are recordings. Like, for instance, I'll switch tracks here. This is a recording of myself actually playing piano. I have behind me, and you'll see it in frame, I think, this right here. This is a Roland keyboard or electric piano. It is the FP3 Roland digital piano. I've had it for many years, and you can't see it. It's not in frame, but above it is a Korg Triton Extreme, which is a digital audio workstation and a synth. The music that you can make with it sounds like video game music from the PS2 era. It's pretty decent. It's not the best thing in the world. But what I do is I go into AI music tools and ask it to remix. I say remix this after I record this. This thing that's playing now, I put in this recording of myself playing piano, and then I extended it here. And now you hear the clarinet come in, but it's repeating the melody. And now there's lush strings behind it. And it has a sort of layered polyphony, and it sounds much more produced than the stuff that I can make with the keyboards, with the synths. I don't like Suno for this. To be clear, I liked Udio for it. Udio completely got rid of their commercial use policy. Before, you could make stuff like this with Udio and put it out. And Udio was really good because you had a layer of granularity to it. You could tell it, small ensemble, please, just strings, or just this, just that. If you tell Suno to do that, it will always get carried away in the second act and make you a fully powered, orchestrated thing. It's very rare for it to make genuinely atmospheric music. So it's not, in my opinion, useful for audiobooks like this. David has said, so you write, sew, play and compose music, draw and act, and drive long-haul trucks. Yeah, lazy describes you. Sorry. Yes, lazy describes you, he says in his very masculine voice. That's just like typical bard shit, Renaissance man bullshit. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, sometimes I sit in my chair and doom scroll Substack, Reddit, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, for a very long time and do nothing, and then it's time to cook for my wife. It's not like every day is spent singing, dancing, jumping around, and swinging swords. But also, I just have really low self-esteem, so maybe lazy doesn't describe me, but I use it to describe myself because it makes me feel better. At the end of the day, though, I think I'm doing good. I think that first last chance is good. I think what I'm making is good. I think this stuff is good. I think that a lot of people are using AI tools these days. They see the tools come out and they see the possibilities. They see the potential, but they don't use the potential. And I think what I'm trying to do is use AI tools where it fills in my weak spots rather than just prompt out an instantaneous product and make the slop thing that people call slop. I knew how to make an audiobook where all the characters had different voices. I just can't afford voice actors. I knew how to make music. I just can't afford the sample libraries. I know how to, I can't say I know how to write. I just can't afford to write. I write all of it. I write every single letter. I use a keyboard. I type it into Scrivener. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I know that sometimes I'm going to be criticized. If people ever notice the work, they're going to criticize it because it has a single drop of AI blood inside of it. I think that's fine, because at the end of the day, I really think it's a good product, and I couldn't have done it without the AI tools. I think if you're using it to actually write, maybe there's something to be said there. But then, people will say that about the art too. Like, I do all the illustrations myself. I use Design Doll to build a Loomis model, and then I draw a sketch on top of that, and then I do line art over the sketch. Or I do landscapes freehand, just things like that. That's not AI. I'm doing those illustrations myself. But 10 years ago, someone would have said, "Oh, you're not drawing the Loomis models from scratch. You're drawing over them. You're tracing, basically." Yeah, that's cheating. So maybe one day I'll feel like the AI artists aren't cheating. Like, that's just the most recent method. I just can't use the AI visual art because it just gets the details wrong. If it accurately represented the very small details, I would use it. But it's really important to me that those details are accurate to my vision. The things that the characters are wearing, if I tell the AI that Arlo has this little tiny green gem, it just would never be able to understand that this is his whole outfit. And now I have to take off this stinking cravat that I made. I made this cravat. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. This is the power of AI, says David. Enabling creators who don't have the financial assets to build a multimedia IP that is rich and exceptional. Why anyone would prefer the old model of allowing an elite few to decide who becomes successful. Or why would anyone prefer the old model? The elite, the gatekeepers, I haven't even tried to get past them. I don't think that First Last Chance would make it through. The two sort of cultural gangs in this country, I think, would hate it. I think that it has characters that have like alternative lifestyles, or whatever you want to call it. It has a lesbian. The main character is not strictly speaking white, but I also think that if there was another side to it, the people representing what they're calling woke would also have a problem with it, as like, having negative representations of gender or just whatever. Like, I just think these people in general on both sides live to find complaints with it, and just First Last Chance is not compatible with either one of those sides, as we would call it. So it's not, it would be rejected wholeheartedly and roundly by the whoever is in charge of the guys who wear suits in the media world. I don't know what their priors are, what their motivations are, and I just don't care. I worked with those people a lot when I was in my early 20s and I was doing voice work. And I just don't think that they're motivated by like a genuine desire to be good people. I don't think they really care about their product so much as they have died an ego death, and they care about being perceived as putting out products that are virtuous. First Last Chance is not meant to be virtuous or invirtuous. It's meant to be a fun escape and take you into another world. A fun and interesting world, and maybe there are some moral messages in it, but if anything, it's just anti-war, and you're not going to get there until you're deep in the book anyway. So I don't think it's got anything to say really. It's just fun, nice, good dialogue, funny people, nice characters, people that you want to get behind and root for. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. I finished the work I was going to do on camera, and I do have some work that I have to do off camera around the house. But to anybody who watches the recording of this later, thank you so much for giving it your attention. And thank you especially to David and the others who actually tuned in to see it live. I'm not going to strip off in front of everybody. I know that would get me a lot more viewers, but I'm just going to take this vest off so I can free my watch and put it back on my wristband. And I hope that if you did follow First Last Chance at all, if you listened to a few episodes of the podcast, even if you decided ultimately it was not for you, I hope that it brought you joy in some way. I hope that it was a good story, that it sparked joy. That is my number one desire when it comes to these books and these characters, is that they are interesting and exciting, and that people just feel good while they're taking them in, and that it's not the trash that we see everywhere. And other than that, I guess just have a marvelous day. And thank you for tuning in. One day I'll get this watch back together. Here we go. Now I have to go back to being a normal guy instead of a silly man in a little vest. Okay. Farewell.